6 Pages of Mystery, A Journey to Save the Kingdom. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lived a young prince named Alexander. Alexander was known throughout the land for his bravery, his kindness, and his quick wit. He lived a happy life in the castle with his parents, the king and queen, and his younger sister, Isabella. One day, while out on a ride through the forest, Alexander stumbled upon a small cottage. Curiosity getting the best of him, he decided to investigate. Inside the cottage, he found an old woman with a wrinkled face and long, silver hair. "Greetings, young prince," said the old woman. "What brings you to my humble abode?" Alexander explained that he was simply exploring the forest and had stumbled upon her cottage by chance. "Well, since you're here, why don't you sit down and have some tea with me?" said the old woman. Alexander agreed and sat down at the table. As they sipped their tea, the old woman began to speak of a powerful spell that could bring great wealth and prosperity to the kingdom. She explained that the spell was written in a book, but the book had been stolen and scattered across the kingdom. "I need your help, young prince," said the old woman. "Will you help me find the missing pages of the spellbook?" Alexander, eager to help, agreed to the old woman's request. And so, he set out on a journey that would take him across the kingdom, through dangerous forests and treacherous mountains, in search of the missing pages of the spellbook. Alexander traveled for many days, facing many challenges along the way. He encountered fierce beasts and dangerous bandits, but his bravery and quick wit helped him overcome every obstacle in his path. As he journeyed through the kingdom, he asked every traveler he met if they had seen any pages of the spellbook. One day, as he was resting near a river, he heard a soft singing voice. He followed the sound until he found a group of fairies dancing in a nearby meadow. When they saw him, they stopped dancing and looked at him with suspicion. "What do you want, human?" asked the fairy queen. Alexander explained that he was searching for the missing pages of the spellbook and asked if the fairies had seen any of them. The fairy queen hesitated for a moment before answering. "Yes, we have one of the pages," she said, "but we will only give it to you if you can solve our riddle." Alexander agreed to the challenge, and the fairy queen posed her riddle. "I am always hungry, I must always be fed. The finger I touch will soon turn red. What am I?" Alexander thought for a moment before answering confidently, "Fire." The fairy queen was impressed and handed him the missing page of the spellbook. Alexander thanked her and continued on his journey, feeling closer than ever to completing his mission. As Alexander continued his quest, he came across a small village nestled in a valley. The villagers were hardworking but poor, struggling to make ends meet. Alexander noticed that they were all wearing worn-out clothes and living in rundown houses. He approached the village elder and asked if she had seen any pages of the spellbook. The elder replied that she had not, but she did have a problem that she hoped the prince could help with. "Our village is plagued by a terrible drought," said the elder. "Our crops are dying, and our animals are thirsty. We fear that soon we will have no food or water left." Alexander knew he had to help the villagers. He used his knowledge of agriculture and water conservation to help them dig a well and create a sustainable irrigation system. With his help, the villagers were able to grow bountiful crops and provide for themselves. In gratitude, the elder presented Alexander with a page of the spellbook that she had found in the forest. Alexander was thrilled and thanked the villagers for their hospitality before continuing on his journey. Alexander had been traveling for many days, and his journey had taken him through all kinds of terrain, from dense forests to towering mountains to barren deserts. He had encountered many challenges, but he had also made many new friends and allies along the way. One day, as he was crossing a vast plain, he heard the sound of hooves thundering in the distance. As he looked up, he saw a group of horsemen riding toward him, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. Alexander readied his own sword, but as the horsemen drew near, they lowered their weapons and greeted him warmly. They were a group of knights who had been sent by the king to aid Alexander in his quest. "We have heard of your journey, young prince," said the leader of the knights. "We are here to help you in any way we can." Alexander was grateful for the assistance and welcomed the knights into his company. Together, they rode across the plains, searching for the remaining pages of the spellbook. Their journey led them to a castle, perched atop a high cliff overlooking the sea. The castle was guarded by a fierce dragon, who had been terrorizing the nearby villages and hoarding treasure in its lair. Alexander and the knights knew that they had to defeat the dragon if they wanted to continue their search for the spellbook. With the help of the knights, Alexander came up with a plan to lure the dragon out of its lair and engage it in battle. After a long and grueling fight, Alexander and the knights emerged victorious, having slayed the dragon and liberated its hoard of treasure. As a token of their gratitude, the castle's lord presented Alexander with another page of the spellbook, which he had found among the dragon's treasures. With 5 pages of the spellbook in his possession, Alexander was feeling hopeful that he would soon be able to complete his mission. However, his journey was far from over, and he knew that the most challenging part of his quest still lay ahead. The next page of the spellbook was said to be located in a hidden temple deep in the jungle. The temple was guarded by powerful spirits, and many adventurers had tried and failed to reach it before. Undeterred, Alexander set out into the jungle with a small group of trusted companions. They faced many dangers on their journey, from treacherous terrain to deadly snakes and other beasts. They also had to contend with the spirits that guarded the temple, who would occasionally send powerful storms or illusions to thwart them. Despite these challenges, Alexander and his companions persisted, using their wits and skills to overcome every obstacle in their path. They navigated through the jungle, deciphered the temple's ancient puzzles, and finally reached the inner sanctum where the page of the spellbook was said to be kept. Inside the sanctum, they faced one final challenge, a guardian spirit who challenged Alexander to a duel. The spirit was fierce and powerful, but Alexander was able to hold his own, using his quick reflexes and sharp mind to outmaneuver his opponent. After a grueling fight, the spirit finally relented and handed over the page of the spellbook. Alexander and his companions emerged from the jungle triumphant, with 6 pages of the spellbook in their possession. They knew that they were one step closer to unlocking the secret of the book and saving the kingdom from ruin. With all 6 pages of the spellbook in his possession, Alexander returned to the kingdom's capital city. He was greeted with great fanfare and celebration, and many people came out to cheer him on as he made his way to the castle. Once inside the castle, Alexander met with the king and queen, who were both overjoyed to see him. They asked him to share the secrets of the spellbook with them so that they could use it to save the kingdom. Alexander opened the book and began to read the incantation, his voice ringing out clearly and powerfully in the throne room. As he spoke the final words of the spell, a blinding light filled the room, and a great wind rushed through the castle, shaking its walls. When the light faded, the castle was filled with a warm, golden glow, and everyone felt a sense of peace and harmony. The king and queen thanked Alexander for his bravery and presented him with a great reward. They also offered him a place at their side as a trusted advisor, knowing that his wisdom and courage would be invaluable to them in the years to come.